Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Fantasy Warfare Tournament. This is going to be the greatest tag teams of all time. Just like we did with the greatest champions of all time, we've come up with 64 of the greatest tag teams, whether they're from the 60s, 50s, 80s, 90s, now, Japan, North America, Mexico, you name it, they're all in here. We tried to find the best tag teams ever, and we're going to break it down, top 64. This is part one. We're going to do 3 more parts, but we're going to do the first 16 tag teams of this tournament. With us today, we have Steven in Toronto. How are you, Steven?
Good. After a week's vacation, I'm feeling good. I didn't have to watch any shitty wrestling last week, so I'm feeling even better.
Awesome. And we have Chris is in Niagara Falls. How are you, Chris?
I am doing fantastic. And I got a longer COVID vacation, so I'm not going back until late September now.
Oh, wow.
And the sound, is the sound good? I am next to my air conditioner. Do you hear a hum or anything?
No.
Sound is doing well.
Okay, fantastic.
Checking. So people might notice there was a little bit of a difference here right now. Chris Maloney is away for the time being, and we're weighing it with what technology we can figure out on this show. Some of the fancy videos where we don't have this week, but we do have the brackets, and we're starting off with Red Dragon taking on Giant Baba and Antonio Inoki. And I get to start this one off. So Red Dragon are mostly known now as the Undisputed Era. So that's Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. Bobby Fish is 5'10", 197 pounds. Kyle O'Reilly, 6 foot, 200 pounds. So the combined total weight, 397 pounds. They debuted in 2012, 3-time Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, New Japan IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions 1 time, NXT Tag Team titles 3 times, but only once together because of the sort of freebird rule with the Undisputed Era, but they've only held it together once. For that, they won the Ring of Honor Tag Wars tournament in 2014, New Japan Super Junior Tag Team tournament also in 2014, NXT Tag Team of the Year 2019, PWI Tag Team of the Year for 2019, and Bobby Fish was number 26 in the PWI 500 in 2016, while Kyle O'Reilly was number 32 in PWI 500 in 2016. Then you look over at the legends from Japan, Giant Baba and Antonio Inoki. They held the NWA International Tag Team titles a total 4 times, and they were the Tokyo Sports Match of the Year in 1979 when they took on Abdullah the Butcher and Tiger Jeet Singh. So there's not a lot of history to look up when you start looking around for Inoki and Giant Baba as a tag team, other than the fact that they won the titles 4 times and had that greatest match in 1979. Comparing these two, I honestly have to go with Red Dragon to go over Inoki and Baba. People have seen them more. They've got definitely more exposure. You can see them every Wednesday night on NXT right now as part of the NXT on Wednesdays with Undisputed Era. And that's who I'm going with is Red Dragon over Baba and Inoki. Steven, your thoughts?
Well, I'm going with what I'm going to call probably one of the greatest tag teams out there. It's going to be Red Dragon, and you actually got a stat wrong. They're a 2-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team champs. They remind me of the old school tag team. I wish we would have seen them match up against someone like FTR, American Alpha when they were together. They're a natural tag team. They're better as a unit than separate. So It's Red Dragon. They're just way too much. I'm not a big fan of single stars that come together quickly and then disband.
Me, I would have gone with Baba and Inoki. They were in the business longer. They're legends. And I do agree with the fact I don't like when singles guys are put together, but they held the belt. It's what, 4 times, 6 times?
4 times.
Yeah, 4 times. That's not a one-time hookup. That's a relationship. So, and for me, Red Dragons, they're a lot younger. They've done the IWPG, but they haven't. That's the junior one, not the bigger one. So for me, I would just go with Baba and Inoki if I'm hiring. The other guys probably would give a much better match, but that's where I'd go with that. But it don't matter what I think.
Not on this one. It's 2-1.
Red Dragon advances 2-1 victory, which takes us to our second matchup. Rob Van Dam and Sabu taking on American Wolves. Now, just before we end up going any further, some of the premise of what we're doing also is the fact that we're basing it on them as a tag team of what the team did as the unit themselves. We have a couple of tag team wrestlers who were disqualified because they couldn't be in this tournament twice. So like the Andersons couldn't have Arn Anderson as part of it because he's already part of the Brainbusters. There was a couple other instances where tag team combination were not able to be in here because of that rule that we're doing. And just so people who are watching are aware, we're going by the team that are put forward in this circumstance. So it is RVD and Sabu going against American Wolves.
Which is the American Wolves. They went by different. I know they've wrestled in NXT as the American Pitbulls. They've had a few different names, but we'll talk about that. So RVD and Sabu first met in December of 1989, became close friends. They started as enemies in ECW. Both men were trained by Sabu's uncle, the Sheik. They eventually, in 97, became a tag team and went for the tag team titles. At ECW Barely Legal, Alfonso betrayed Taz and joined Sabu and RVD. Kind of gets fuzzy because some of it is very not great. Record keeping. Sabu and RVD joined Lawler in his crusade to kill ECW. Sabu interfered in a match and accidentally helped RVD win the title against Bigelow, I believe. A month later, the two captured the ECW Tag Team Champions, defeating Candino and Lance Storm. They lost the titles to the Dudley Boys in October of 98. They won them back at the ECW FMW Super Show. Lost the titles again to the Dudley Boys. Impact Players formed and attacked at that time, Sabu and RVD. So they're combined. They're a 2-time ECW tag team champs. Then you got the American Wolves, who, I mean, they're probably on the smaller side of tag teams, but very well. The two started as in Larry Sweeney's Alliance Sweet and Sour, but then they eventually went out on their own in ROH. They kind of off and on were not together, but like in Boxing Day of 2008, that's when they formed the American Wolves. Ton of tag team championships in 2009, 2010. Then they kind of broke up and went their own single ways, and each of them won singles titles. Together, they reformed in 2012 at Final Battle 2012 Doomsday, where they beat Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, where they got the ROH tag team shot, and they didn't win them, but they've off and on won tag team titles. They've wrestled in Germany. They've wrestled in TNA. They've wrestled in NXT. They joined TNA in 2014 as the Wolves. They off and on multiple tag team titles. They are a 2-time ROH tag team champion, 5-time TNA tag team champion, tag team of the year. They're probably, if they could have stayed together longer, they probably would have been more tag team champions. They're still getting my vote, the American Wolves. I just think they're way too good of a tag team. Again, I'm not a big fan of RVD or singles wrestlers being put together. And RVD and Sabu always seemed like they were being thrown together when they needed something. So I'm going the American Wolves. Jonesy.
Okay, I'm going to have to call for a rule on the playbook here as far as how I'm deciding stuff. For me, it would be Rob Van Dam and Sabu by like huge lengths, because to me, even though they're single guys and even if they're put together once, yeah, for me, I have to look at the past stuff that they've both done. That's
only
done,
in the tag team.
But that doesn't make sense, because in wrestling, they talk about, you know, both Sabu and Rob Van Dam, former ECW champions, are going up against the, you know, American Wolves and blah, blah, blah. That's the way they do stuff. So why are they even in here then? They shouldn't even be in here if that, for me, it's Rob Van Dam and Sabu over the American Wolves, because I look at what the American Wolves have done and its resume. Look at what Rob Van Dam and Sabu have done. To me, they are the guys that would win this match.
But it's the resume as a tag team and tag team only.
But as a tag team, Rob Van Dam and Sabu did very well. Plus, they teamed in the big leagues. Have American Wolves done the big leagues? No. Rob Van Dam and Sabu, if they went over and fought the American Wolves, guarantee you that Rob Van Dam and Sabu would win. Maybe not now because they're old, but they probably still would get the push, because everyone would want to see those guys win other than the other, for me. So for me, it has to be Rob Van Dam and Sabu.
Yeah, and that's the thing with us having 3 people on the panel. It's allowing us for being subjective of which way we want to lean towards things. Nothing is set in stone at all, and it truly is our opinion only. Like, if we had 3 other people on here, we'd have probably a different opinion of who's going forward. As I said, we're doing it by the resume of the tag team.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with how it is. That's how I look at it. You know.
Yeah, and everybody has their point of views. So that makes us one.
Well, you're
vote.
the tiebreaker now.
I get to be the tiebreaker. Yeah, hearing all the different accolades both teams have had, I kind of want to lean towards the American Werewolves because of the fact that they were a solid tag team. It's like having the Bulldogs always as a tag team. The Hearts were a tag team before they went their separate ways and stuff like that. RVD and Sabu were thrown together maybe in desperate times for Paul Heyman, trying to get things over. A lot of it was storyline driven. They weren't necessarily a tag team from scratch type deal, or for long term either. They might have won a couple tag team titles, but that's like saying
twice, and it's bigger belts than any of those other ones you listed.
I'm hearing you.
I'm
But
just saying.
that'd be almost like saying Austin and Dude Love deserve to be in here for the exact same reason.
Oh,
Or
if they
Austin
would win
and
over
Michael.
the American Wolves in a match, as far as resume is concerned, they'd win. Most bookers would make them win. Anyway, so that's fine. I'm just saying that's me.
Yeah. And so the Wolves are going to go on to meet Red Dragon in the next round. Which brings us to Jonesy. You get the Eliminators taking on the
Yay.
Steiner Brothers.
Well, I could cut to the chase, or I could tell you some great information. Well, the Eliminators, they are 3-time ECW champions, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. They were number 89 of the 100 best tag teams, and they also won a tag team in USA. That's about what I know of those guys. I'm sure they have more information for you. The Steiner brothers, I'm not even going to run down their stuff. To me, they're a 10. They just squished the Eliminators. And the Steiner brothers, I can give you some great facts, though. Do you know where they were billed from?
Grand Rapids?
Sean, do you have an answer?
Yeah, I was thinking Grand Rapids as well.
Bay City. They were always billed from Bay City.
So your vote is for the Steiner Brothers?
Steiners.
So they are currently not in the Hall of Fame. I'm just bringing up some more stats of them as well as a tag team. How many titles they've won? I'm just trying to find it.
Oh,
Right.
the Steiners?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me start at the top.
Okay. Steven, you got this then.
7-time WCW NWA Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champions. 1-time NWA WCW United States Champion. Pat O'Connor Memorial Tag Team Tournament winners in 1990. NWA Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champions 1 time. 2-time IWGP Tag Team Champions. A couple small independents. PWI Match of the Year in 1991 versus Lex Luger and Sting at Super Bowl I. PWI Tag Team of the Year in 1990 and 1993. PWI ranked them number 2 in the top 100 best tag teams through the years. 2-time WWF champion, tag team champions. And yeah, they have a whole bunch of other things.
And surprisingly enough, those ones are kind of forgettable. Their tag titles in the WWE, just with how short that they were there for. But yeah,
I think I know who I'm voting for, but I'll let you go first, Sean.
yeah, it's a no-brainer really when you look at the Eliminators, and they were basically in ECW only. Perry Saturn and John Kronos, I believe. They did make that appearance at the invasion that ECW did of Raw before the actual invasion that happened when the Alliance happened and all that other stuff. But that was when Vince McMahon was helping to fund ECW and try and counter WCW at the same time. So it's the Steiner brothers. They're against. Like, maybe another draw they could have gone forward. The Eliminators could have, but the Steiners are definitely taking it, and I'm betting that's where Steven's going for a clean sweep.
Shocking. Don't get me wrong, I like the Eliminators, but it wasn't. Yeah, they had no chance in this one.
Yeah. So that brings us to our next combination, which is Cho-Ten taking on the Usos. Cho-Ten has a combined weight of 492 pounds. They debuted in 1995 and disbanded in 2006. For those unaware of who they are, it's Masahiro Chono and Hiroshi Tozan. I'm probably butchering some names. This is where Maloney comes in handy for being able to talk about the guys from Japan. But in New Japan, they were the IWGP Tag Team Champions 5 times. They won the Super Grade Tag League in 1995. and they were awarded the Tokyo Sports Tag Team of the Year also in 1995. So 95 was a huge year for them when they first formed, and they got a lot of recognition. They were together 11 years, basically, off and on between their singles runs. And then we're going against the Usos, the twin sons of Fatu, or Junior Fatu, also known as Rikishi. Their total combined weight of 479 pounds. They debuted in 2004. Jimmy and Jay Uso were both born in 85. As I said, they're sons of Rikishi. They started off in FCW in 2009. Sorry, their debut was 2009 as well. FCW in 2009. They hit the main roster in 2010. As far as titles go, they won the FCW Tag Team titles 1 time, WWE Tag Team Champions 2 times, and WWE SmackDown Tag Team titles 4 times. They won the Slammy Award for Tag Team of the Year in 2014 and 2015, PWI Tag Team of the Year in 2014. Jimmy was number 25 in the PWI 500 in 2014, while Jay was number 26 in that same list of 2014. And they also won the CBS Sports Tag Team of the Year in 2018. Now, obviously, Japan has a lot tougher competition and base that they're when you compare what wrestling is in Japan compared to North America, and they did win 5 times the IWGP Tag Team titles. But the Usos are still going strong, barring the injury that one of them sustained during the recording of WrestleMania this year, and just waiting for them to come back. They're probably going to have a couple more tag team titles in them before all is said and done. In my case, I'm going to go with the Uso brothers to take this one. Steven, your thoughts?
Well, I'm going show 10. I think the 5 IWGP Tag Team titles, with the competition that they face, is way greater than what the Usos, because basically it's the Usos and the New Day right now wrestle for the Tag Team titles. One of them usually has it. It's really not that interesting. Unfortunately, the Usos came in at the wrong time. If you would have put them in the WWE, say in the early 90s, mid 90s, when they had a lot of tag teams, these titles would mean a lot more. Or even if you combine the divisions and only had one tag division, you might be able to justify some of it. But there's no competition. That's the problem right now. It's them versus the New Day match 1,000. Like, that's what it seems like. It's just no competition. Show 10, 5-time IWGP Tag Team Champions. They were fighting the Steiners, the Road Warriors, and all that for those. So I'm definitely going show 10.
And Jonesy.
For me, it's a horse race. I look at both of these teams. I've seen the Usos more than the other team, but they're like neck and neck. The belts and that, for me, go to show 10. The Usos are generational wrestlers, but I got to go to the fact that Usos are 1 time, but show 10 is 2-time PWI Tag Team of the Year. So I got to go. I'm going with them. They just got a little bit more.
Very well. So team from Japan, show 10, move on to face the Steiner brothers in a matchup that actually did happen in our next round, which takes us to Nick Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens taking on the Sheep Herders, better known maybe to most as the Bushwhackers.
Hold on. My computer just froze.
Uh-oh.
No, it's fine. It's just taking a second. So just bear with me, everyone.
As Jonesy starts dancing. I'm kind of
Hey,
worried about
I will say I've seen the Bushwhackers live when they went to the London Gardens, and I never liked the Bushwhackers, but to take a team that was considered bad guys and turn them into a good guy tag team, they always got a pop. They always got them. In fact, I seen them take on Well Done as the main event of the last show that they did at the London Gardens, the WWF did.
So I can't pull up the Bockwinkel Stevens stat. So if anyone has them, I only can pull up the Bushwhackers one because that's on my screen right now.
Okay, go with the Bushwhackers.
Okay, because sorry, I just can't pull that one up. So they started teaming in 1966, which is insane that they were a tag team for 30 years. Started as the New Zealand Sheep Herders. They've wrestled for the WWE, Jim Crockett Promotions, on the indie circuit, which is insane. The Kiwis, that's also what they started. The Kiwis from NW New Zealand, better known as All-Star Pro, is kind of what they started as. And then really quickly they switched over to New Zealand Sheep Herders. They really got their big break. I mean, they won in 1978. They won the Mid-Atlantic Tag Team titles, but lost them almost right away. They worked for the World Wrestling Council in 1981. Sheep Herders really got going, though, in the U.S. 1981. Joe LeDuc brought them in. I mean, these people, if you ever get a chance to watch Sheep Herder matches, it was like watching Matt Hardy bleed like a stuffed pig on Wednesday. That's what the normal Sheep Herder matches were like, which makes them even crazier that they became the Bushwhackers. Off and on, sorry guys, my computer sucks. It hates me right now. Off and on won a lot of tag team. I can just tell you what the tag team titles they've won, because then they went to the WWF. We all know what they became, the Bushwhackers. They didn't win any titles there, but ton of independent tag team titles. Also the NWA United States Tag Team Champions in Florida. NWA Florida Tag Team Champions each one time. International Wrestling Association Tag Team title one time. NWA Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Champion one time. NWA All-Star Wrestling, they were the Canadian Tag Team Champions from Vancouver one time. NWA Pacific Northwest Tag Team Champions 3 times. PWI ranked them number 71 of the best 100 tag teams, which is probably a little low, but they won Stampede International Tag Team titles twice. Southwest Championship Wrestling Tag Team once. Got UWF Tag Team titles twice. Worldwide Wrestling Alliance Tag Team Champions twice. The World Wrestling Council's North American Tag Team titles 4 times. The World Wrestling Council World Tag Team Champions twice. They obviously were in the WWE Hall of Fame back in 2015. Unfortunately, they never won the big one in WWE. They just became a joke tag team, unfortunately. Again, that's crazy that they went from bloodthirsty maniacs to licking kids' foreheads and
hanging out with Jameson.
Sorry?
And hanging out with Jameson.
Yeah. So now, if someone can pull up the Bockwinkel Stevens stats, because I can't open that page on my computer.
Yeah, I found just very little of with them as a tag team. In their case, they're almost like Rob Van Dam and Sabu. It's a team that was put together, I believe, under the tutelage of Bobby the Brain Heenan. In the AWA, they won 3 tag team titles together, and the NWA Florida tag team titles together. And they were the PWI Tag Team of the Year in 1973. Of of course, everybody knows what Nick Bockwinkel did as a singles wrestler and being the AWA champion and stuff like that. But as a tag team, they have combined 4 title reigns with them.
Now, this is the vote that people might be shocked of. I'm actually going Bockwinkel and Stevens. I just preferred them as a tag team. They were that classic tag team wrestling. Don't get me wrong, the sheep herders, the New Zealand sheep herders, the bushwhackers. I just prefer Bockwinkel and Stevens.
Jonesy.
After that long list of all those titles they had, they mean nothing.
They just, other than NWA or the Mid-Atlantic, they just never won.
For me, I'm voting for the sheep herders because not just the sheep herders, but I mean we're including the fact that they were bushwhackers, are we not?
Yeah.
To me, they were one of the biggest tag teams that has ever been in professional wrestling because what they did worked. They came down as soon as their music hit. Everyone in the crowd, they did like everything you could do to get the crowd into it, even if their match sucked. Because a lot of times they were boring matches. They weren't like that great. But as far as fan activity and stuff like that, they were cartoon characters. It's hard when Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens, you're going to get a much better match. They did win bigger titles, but I just got to give it to the sheep herders. I love watching old bushwhacker stuff, even though the wrestling itself is boring. Just their mannerisms and everything, and of course now I'm sure they wouldn't let old men lick their children anymore. But but sheep herders for me.
Definitely not in a COVID situation right now. There is no.
They would be out of business. They'd have to go back to being the sheep herders if they were still around.
Yeah. Thing is, for me, listening to all their stats and all that, as much as Nick Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens would put on an amazing match, much like if they had gone against, say, the Brainbusters or FTR today. The Bushwhackers, I think, or Sheep Herders, had a bigger legacy as a tag team. They got inducted into WWE Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. I guess, in a way, their resume before coming to WWE kind of set them up, unfortunately, as the go-to gatekeepers, in a way, for any tag team to advance, because you knew if they could hang with the Bushwhackers, then they move their way up the card towards those tag team titles. Unfortunately, the Bushwhackers never even got near the tag team titles. Can you imagine if they were taken seriously like they were as sheep herders, even without having the blood aspect that the New Zealand sheep herders had to them. But surprisingly, I'm going to go sheep herders to advance just because of their resume of being together as a tag team, and like sort of as I alluded to earlier with Sabu and RVD, it almost rings true with Bockwinkel and Stevens being a tag team thrown together because they were part of the Bobby Heenan family in the AWA, and very successful 3-time tag team champions for that matter. But they were more singles wrestlers. Which brings us to the Fabulous Kangaroos taking on...
Hold on, I got a question about the Fabulous. Which group of Fabulous Kangaroos are we going with? Because there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different iterations of them.
Oh, dear.
I'd say Costello and Hefferman, because they are the first two that is mentioned on like Wikipedia as far as who was the main guys of the Fabulous Kangaroos.
Yeah, I would go with the original ones basically because it's like throwing Demolition in there and saying, let's talk about Smash and Crush instead of Axe and Smash.
And don't forget the other guy. There was a fourth Demolition guy.
Yeah,
the original Smash.
yeah. Okay, I just wanted to double check. It
Yeah.
doesn't change my decision.
Even after that, there's another demolition guy. It's in the trivia game. In fact, the WWE gave him a cease and desist order.
Oh, that was after they left.
Yeah, but he was
Blast,
still.
something like that.
Hey, the other guy, demolition guy, was wrestling with him. So
Anyway, so we have the Fabulous Kangaroos taking on America's Most Wanted, Jonesy.
well, the Kangaroos, they're regarded as one of the top tag teams to ever compete in professional wrestling, and they're credited with popularizing tag team wrestling in the late 50s and 60s. I haven't watched any of their stuff. I look at America's Most Wanted. They don't have as many titles as the Kangaroos did. Kangaroos have a crap load in the independent territories all over the place. What do I have them down here on my? I'm just trying to see who I originally picked.
Yeah, and what about in this specific?
In American,
we're talking about.
well, Incarnation, you take some of those titles out, but you still got a lot of titles that they had together as a tag team. The Americans. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll give you the titles. Costello and Heffernan won together.
Sure.
2-time international tag team champions in the Alex Turk promotion in Winnipeg. 3-time Capital Wrestling Corporation NWA United States tag team champions, Northeast version. Championship Wrestling from Florida, NWA Florida United States tag team champion 1 time. NWA tag team champions once. That's the Florida version. Japan Wrestling Association NWA International tag team champions once. NWA United States tag team champions, Ohio version once. NWA All-Star Wrestling, NWA Canadian Tag Team Champion 4 times. That's the Vancouver edition. NWA Detroit, the 2-time Detroit version Tag Team Champions. NWA International Tag Team Champions once, the Texas version. NWA World Tag Team Champions, the Texas version 1 time. World Wrestling Association out of Los Angeles 1 time. So to me, it's all, other than Championship Wrestling from Florida, it's all promotions, small promotions.
America's Most Wanted. We got Wildcat Chris Harris and Cowboy James Storm. And, of course, always by their side was Gail Kim. Although I don't know always, but we've got a lot of tag teams. They won FEW, NWA Shockwave, which I believe was a tournament, Cyberspace Tag Team Championship through the NWA, PWI Tag Team of the Year. In TNA, they won the NWA World Tag 6 times, the Gauntlet for Gold, TNA Anarchy Alliance Tag Tournament Match of the Year in 2004 against Daniels Skipper at Turning Point. I think I had that DVD. And Tag Team of the Year 2003 and 4. We got the World Wrestling Council. They had 1 time in there, and Tag Team of the Year through the Wrestling Observer. For me, they're pretty close. But Americans Most Wanted, I think they got more TV than the Kangaroos did. I'm sure the Kangaroos were on TV back in the 50s and 60s, but again, there wasn't PWI. I don't think was around back then. So I just have to go with America's Most Wanted. If I'm hiring them, I'd go with them over the Kangaroos. Because also, I mean, James Storm, I think he's a good tag team wrestler and a standalone guy. So it's America's Most Wanted for me. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I'm on the right one. Yeah, America's Most Wanted.
Okay, so yeah, just listening to all the different accolades and all that, definitely America's Most Wanted were on a national stage compared to regional promotions. that brought in the Kangaroos probably for the hype, but they weren't really exposed beyond that. I do believe you said Capital Wrestling, which I believe might have been Vince McMahon Sr.'s organization in the Northeast prior to Vince taking over and making a worldwide wrestling federation. Or because I believe Capital was the name of it before it became the WWF, but still wasn't much more than a regional promotion in itself. The funny thing is, America's Most Wanted being in this kind of also went with that rule that we said when we were picking the tag teams that unfortunately Beer Money didn't make it in here because James Storm was America's Most Wanted. I might have wanted to pick Beer Money over America's Most Wanted, but this is who got in here, and I am going to go with America's Most Wanted to advance. Is it a clean sweep, Steven?
It is a clean sweep, and I'm the asshole who put America's Most Wanted in over Beer Money because I actually prefer America's Most Wanted as a tag team over Beer Money. To me, it felt Beer Money was thrown together just, even though they stayed as a tag team longish term, America's Most Wanted was a much better tag team for me. But yes, that is a clean sweep.
Until Chris Harris went to WWE and gained weight.
Oh, that was a disaster. But so it looks like it's your turn for Eminem versus Los Guerreros.
A match that we probably saw a bunch of times on SmackDown during that era that they were all around. And surprisingly enough, they both weighed 555 pounds combined. It's interesting on that one. So Eminem, let's start with them. Joey Mercury, Johnny Nitro. Mercury debuted in 79. Both were born in 79. Mercury debuted in 96. Nitro debuted in 2002 after winning Tough Enough 3 as well. They also had Melina as their manager. She was born in 79, debuted in 2001, and was the, at the time, girlfriend of one Johnny Nitro, which then combined for the MNN. The team debuted in 2004 after working in OVW and moving up to WWE. They were active as a tag team from 2004 to 2006, and then they broke up for a very slight bit because they were back together again in 2006 to 2007. They were the OVW Southern Tag Team champions one time. They got moved up to the main roster of SmackDown in 2005, where they won 3 WWE Tag Team Championships. They were also PWA Tag Team of the Year in 2005. Looking over at Los Guerreros, once again, 555 pounds. Debuted as a tag team, though, in 1998 over in WCW and were disbanded in 2005. They were active in 98 prior to WCW, and then in WWE from in WWE from 2002 to 2004, and once again in 2005. Eddie was born in 1967 and unfortunately passed away in 2005. He debuted in 1986. His nephew, Chavo, was only 3 years younger than him, born in 1970, turning 50 this year, and debuted in 94. They were WWE Tag Team Champions 2 times and Wrestling Observer Tag Team of the Year in 2002. Very close call on these ones because not only with their tag team titles that they've won, the people that they won against, it was a little bit of a resurgence of tag teams at that time in WWE with even with the brand split going on. They went against each other numerous times. They were highly entertaining with the way Eminem did their entrances and Morrison or Nitro with his parkour style. And then you had Los Guerreros who like to lie, cheat, and steal to get their tag team titles and victories. This one, honestly, was probably my hardest one of the first round to determine who was going to advance. I am going to go with blood being thicker than water and picking Los Guerreros to go over Eminem. Steven.
I like Los Guerreros, but my problem is that they were put together. Them separate is better than them as a tag team. I find that Eminem had the flash, but they could also go in the ring. Don't get me wrong, Los Guerreros could still go in the ring, but Eminem, their presence, the appeal of it. I'm going Eminem because if you say Eddie Guerrero, I don't think Los Guerreros as a tag team. I think singles. Same with Chavo. But if you say Joey Mercury, you think Eminem. You say Johnny Nitro, you think Eminem. Melina, you think Eminem. So I'm going Eminem because I see them as a tag team. I don't always see Eddie and Chavo as single. I see them more as singles than a tag team.
Very good. Jonesy.
Well, again, for me, it's a even horse race. I seen the Los Guerreros in London at a SmackDown, and their entrance is fantastic.
With the Low Rider.
For me, it's very hard to decide which one. So I need a little my thinking cap on of who, with all these rules to this. I mean, Los Guerreros, they had 2 tag teams, so they had it twice. They were the tag team of the year with the Observer, but you look at Eminem. If you're going with tag teams and stuff like that, then yes, I got to go Eminem, but I think the Guerreros would make it to the next round. But
your official vote is?
Give me 2 seconds. I'm looking. I want to say Los Guerreros, I really do, but you know what? I'm going to say Eminem.
Very good.
Because they did have a manager with them.
And quite the manager she was.
Yeah.
So that brings us to our final matchup.
And I got to say one more thing, sorry. I remember that ladder match that they were in. And to me, they earned their spot there by taking that ladder hit, man. So, anyways, continue.
The Peter Cutter spot where Mercury nearly lost his eye. Yeah, for sure. Which takes us to our last matchup of the first round. And it has the Nasty Boys taking on the Midnight Express, which is Bobby Eaton and
Stan Lane.
Managed by Jim Cornette. Mother.
I'm waiting for Joe.
Sorry? Oh.
I ordered a whole bunch of stuff from Cornette's Collectibles.
Nice.
The Nasty Boys. Ryan Knobs, Jerry Saggs. Started in the mid to late 80s as a tag team. They started in AWA and Florida Champion in 85. They were friends, childhood friends. They went to WCW in 1990, WWE from 1993, back to WCW 93 to 97, onto the Independents. Then they popped up in TNA. They're big champion, the Florida Championship Wrestling Tag Team champions 5 times. WCW Tag Team champions 3 times. 1 time WWF Tag Team. So they were there. Now we have the Midnight Express. March of 1980. What?
I know where this is heading. I can tell by the tone of your voice.
Not my fault.
I know. So good.
Dennis Condrey left in March 1987, just suddenly, without a reason, leaving Bobby Eaton without a partner. Big Bubba Rogers worked a few dates to fulfill the obligations. but Dusty made a decision to pick Stan Lane, who's a single star in Florida at the time. Tom Pritchard was thought about but never officially suggested, which would have been interesting. Tom Pritchard and Bobby Eaton, probably the two best workers, would have been amazing, but Pritchard probably wouldn't have worked as at Midnight Express. He was much better in the Heavenly Bodies. Eaton and Lane reached the semifinals of the Crockett Cup tournament in April 11th, 1987 in Baltimore. On May 16th, 1987, they won the NWA United States Tag Team Champions for the first time, a title that they won 3 times during their time together. A year later, the team was cheered despite being a heel, and they won the NWA Tag Team titles from the Horsemen, Arn and Tully. That only lasted about a month and a half before the Road Warriors, who turned heel, won. After leaving in 87, Dennis Condrey got with Randy Rose, the original Midnight Express. Then that's when they came back to the NWA and had a big blood feud with, it was the original Midnight versus the Midnight, which was actually kind of fun. And if you ever have a chance to watch that, that was actually a lot of fun. The Midnight Express returned after they left to feud with the Dynamic Dudes. They off and on won more titles. They beat Flying Brian and Tom Zink to win the United States Tag Team Champions again. They won off and on. They're probably most famous rivals, the Rock and Roll Express, which if you ever get a chance to watch any of those matches, they're amazing. So the titles that Eaton and Lane won, where they're 3-time NWA United States Tag Team Champions. They're 1-time NWA Tag Team Champion. They were PWI Tag Team of the Year in 1987. PWI ranked them number 32 out of the best 100 tag teams, which I think is very low, personally. They won the Wrestling Observer Feud of the Year in 1988 versus the Fantastics, and they won the Tag Team of the Year of 1987 and 88. They should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. They should be ridiculous. They're not. If you can't guess where my vote is going, it's going to the Midnight Express, because the Nasty Boys were great, but they were more a brawler. I would have much rather seen the Midnight Express, and I watch a ton of Midnight Express now because that's what tag team wrestling should be. So I'm going the Midnight Express. Jonesy?
Well, Sean's going to be the tiebreaker on this one. When I watched wrestling, when I did see the Midnight Express, yes, they're a good tag team, but I thought they were boring. Now, mind you, I haven't really gone back and rewatched their matches. For me, it's the Nasty Boys. I don't care how good the Midnight Express were. The Nasty Boys, they had much better outfit. The attitude, they were great bad guys, but they were cartoony. But I mean, in WCW, I liked them so much better in WCW than WWF. Though I thought they were great wherever they went. To me, they're another tag team that's a 10. I don't consider Midnight Express, again, great wrestlers, but Nasty Boys have got a bigger pop for me. I got to go with them. And how my friend in grade school had the Nasty Boy haircut. So I mean, they were it. Sean,
so I get to be the tiebreaker. I was hoping you guys weren't going to do that to me.
You've been the tiebreaker the most tonight, I think.
I know, because in this case, I do like the Midnight Express. They were what tag team wrestling was all about. But then when you go back to some of our other tournaments, and we've talked about longevity and how the fact is the Nasty Boys, they worked TNA, WWE, WCW, AWA. I believe they were in USWA. I know I saw an old thing when they first started out. These guys worked everywhere. And it was only in their latter years that they started relying on their friendship, I think, with Hogan to get them in place, especially Brian Knobbs and his relationship with Hogan. Were they the greatest tag team to watch? No.
But you should use this should be, who would you rather watch? Who's the greatest tag team between the two of them? It ain't the Nasty Boys.
They were very clumsy.
I would rather see the Nasty Boys live. Yes, the others are going to put on a better match. Absolutely. But sometimes I like the team that it's about playing the character as well for me. And I mean, again, a Nasty Boy against the Midnight Express would be a great match to see because it's two different styles. But I'm telling you, them Nasty Boys, that they were one of the best Street Fighter. To just watch the sounds they made. They just looked. They were ugly.
But they were
back, and I believe there was a Bash at the Beach that had the
Rubber Shark
with the Rubber Shark, and against the Harlem Heat, I believe they were against and stuff like that. So they do have some memorable moments. I myself am a guy who likes the technical wrestling as well. I love Steve Austin when he was against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Stunning Steve Austin and Steamboat in WCW, and when he became a brawler after the stuff with Owen, kind of diminished it. I love the technical wrestling, so I need to go with the Midnight Express in this case because I know other tag teams of that are going to advance in this, so that's my choice. We have a question, comment, concern.
I just have one question, and whether it may not change your mind, it may go the opposite way, but we haven't really included the managers. Do you think that Jimmy Hart would be able to outdo Jim Cornette in like, how would that match go down? How would the
Nasty Boys only had
down? In the end, would it be a pin or would it be a DQ? That's what I need from you. Is it a pin or a DQ? Is it a legitimate pin, or did one of them cheat?
Here's the thing: the Nasty Boys only had Jimmy Hart for a manager for what? A year? Not even
in WWE.
Yeah,
and he was in WCW too, I believe. I believe he's
not in the Nasty Boys because he was with the Dungeon of Doom.
I want to say he was there with them too. I could be totally wrong. But I'm going to research that.
But Cornette was with them from the start to the finish. Cornette would load that racket up. Then you'd have the rocket launcher, and it'd be 1, 2, 3. Thanks for coming out. Good night, shitty Nasty Boys.
So Midnight Express are going to advance over that with a 2-1 victory. So we're going to work on getting our graphics up for next week.
I can tell you how the votes went because I've been writing them down.
Yeah, same here.
So 2-1, Red Dragon beat Anoki Baba. 2-1, Wolves beat RVD Sabu. Give me this. I'm writing this down. I'm reading it. 3-0 was our first 3-0. Steiners beat the Eliminators. 2-1, Shoten beat the Usos. 2-1, the Bushwhackers / Sheep Herders beat Bockwinkel and Stevens. Our second 3-0, AMW beat the Fabulous Kangaroos. 2-1 again, Eminem beat Los Guerreros. And 2-1 again, the greatest tag team around, the Midnight Express, Lane and Eaton, beat the Nasty Boys. And don't get me wrong, if the Nasty Boys drew a different draw, anyone who was facing the Midnight was going to lose to me. I'm going to admit it. If the Nasty Boys drew pretty much anyone else, they would get my vote. But unfortunately,
I remember a Public Enemy Nasty Boy match on Saturday night's main event that I wish they'd re-show eventually, because I remember one of them throwing a chunk of a table. It was like probably a third of a table, and like chucked it at the other guy and hit him in the back of the head. I mean, they had some great, just, and they were entertaining. To me, they were just more colorful, obnoxious, just everything you wanted in a bad tag team.
Go back and watch any entrance with Cornette doing the intro on the second rope, and it makes you just want to go through that TV, and that's what you love about him. That taking Sean, was there any surprises for you in this round?
Maybe the sheep herders did advance. I honestly would have thought Bachmichael and Stevens would have, but just the numbers and the tag resume spoke louder for the sheep herders to advance. So that was kind of a little bit of a surprise, maybe even a little bit of a disappointment, upset of the round. Other than that, maybe also the Usos losing to Show 10, but once again, IWGP tag titles have a little bit more weight to them than the hot potatoing of a SmackDown tag team title. So,
Jonesy, was there anything that surprised you in this first round?
It just took me a bit to get comfy. Not overly. I mean, personally, again, like the beginning, but I understand the tag team on its own. But for me, it's like you get a guy like Rob Van Dam and Sabu, and you just put them against American Wolves. I'm sure they'd win. They would win the match, in my opinion. Not old Sabu and old Rob Van Dam, but because again, it's like when they put Hogan and Macho against the Twin Towers. Well, the Twin Towers had a better resume as a tag team. They did more, but obviously it's Hogan and Savage that are going to win every single freaking time. Even though they could. But
the team doesn't fall through the ropes as well.
See, it's wrestling's fault because that's what they trained me to see, you see. So wrestling, Macho and Hogan, they did that to me.
So round 2 is starting with Jonesy. Red Dragon, American Wolves. Then there's the Steiners versus Show 10. Then there's Bushwhackers versus AMW. And then Eminem versus the Midnight Express, which would be a match if they were both in their prime. I would pay big dollars to see. Now we're going to start with a match that has happened in the past. Red Dragon versus the Wolves. Jonesy, you get to start this.
And who won that? Who usually wins that?
Coin flip, they would be back and forth.
Okay. I'm just looking at their stats here. They're pretty, they're pretty close. You know what? Oh God, if I have to pick someone, I'll pick someone. But it'd be better if you two. No, I don't want to decide who. Fuck. God, I hate that. This sucks being first in this one.
This one is a lot like the last round with Guerrero's and Eminem. It's sort of the same stature.
My problem with a lot of wrestling in that is I honestly can't, unless I see faces, I can't remember if I've seen these damn guys wrestle ever. I recognize the names, but I don't really recall these teams. Because I watched TNA a long time ago. I had a lot of the first DVDs they spat out.
Eddie Edwards is their current champion.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Did you watch ROH early? I'd say about 20.
No, I haven't really watched ROH.
Oh, okay. Well, then you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it sucks. Well, you know what? I'm gonna have to go with the American Wolves, and that's because of their damn name.
And they got the lovely tattoos with the scratches on their chests because of that.
I hope I wasn't the tiebreaker in that, but we'll find out.
Well, I'm going to go with Red Dragon to win this one. They're more consistent as a tag team. They're still going strong as a tag team over in NXT as part of the Undisputed Era with Roderick Strong and Adam Cole, Bay. And so, I'm going Red Dragon to do this. So, Steven, you're going to be the tiebreaker.
I'm going Red Dragon. American Wolves were great as a tag team. They unfortunately broke up too quick. And Red Dragon's still tag team. Even if they go by Undisputed Era, they're specialists, and I love them. So I'm going Red Dragon. Okay, so that's to you, Chris. To Sean, your Steiner Shoten. Shocking.
Yeah. So now we got the Steiner brothers, who multiple-time tag team champions all over the world. They weren't just in North America, and they didn't just stay in WCW. We saw them over in ECW briefly. They were in WWE. I mentioned their tag team title reigns weren't too spectacular. I think that was, though, unfortunately, during the time there were more cartoony character tag teams there than the fact that they were legit tag teams. So they kind of got lost in the shuffle. But whenever you think of the Steiner brothers, it's like going against the Road Warriors, teaming with Sting and stuff like that, going against Luger. Unfortunately, Big Papa Pump came out, and they had the Steiners go against each other type deal, and he was even teaming with Buff Bagwell. But Cho-Ten, 5-time IWGP Tag Team Champions, but that was just in Japan, unfortunately. And they did go against the Steiners because the Steiners did go international. So in my case, I'm going to go with the Steiners to pick up the victory here just because of their resume and the fact that they went everywhere and didn't just apply their craft in one continent. Steven?
Well, this is easy. This is the Steiners. Too many championships, too many all over the place championships. Steiners.
All right. So I can, let's see, where is it? So Steiners, of course. Scott Steiner drove a front-end loader into this popular USA food chain he was invested in Atlanta. Do you know the name of the food chain that he took a bulldozer and went into the store? And his brother was there too.
Yeah, no clue. I just heard recently, though, his Shoney's restaurant is going to be closing.
Okay, it was Shoney's.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You can look up the story. It's hilarious because they were either tearing it down or redoing it before they reopened. Well, now they're closed. So sad.
So who's your pick, Jones?
Oh, I picked Steiner. I said Steiners.
That's a clean sweep for the Steiners. Moving on to the Sheep Herders taking on America's Most Wanted.
This one was fairly easy for me. I'm going America's Most Wanted. I can't get behind the Bushwhackers, the Sheep Herders, as one of the greatest tag team champions. I just think America's Most Wanted, much more polished, much more tag team skills. I would prefer to watch America's Most Wanted wrestle.
Yeah, I'd love to put the Sheep Herders through. I don't even know if I can put them through and give you the tying on this. I mean, yeah, the other team's a better technical team. They're going to be more entertaining as far as if you're into wrestling and not so much the kids stuff and schlock and crap like that. But you know what? It says here, Sheep Herders, not Bushwhackers. So I'm going to say that if they were the Sheep Herders for that match, they might have a chance. So, Sean, I will let you make the decision on that one because again, if it's a sheep herders, they if it, especially if it's a make you bleed match, rock and roll. So I say sheep herders for that one.
Yeah. So if we are looking at the physicality, if they were going to go against each other under those circumstances, that'd be a different thing. But when you look also at their resumes, sheep herders were more successful on a sort of a independent, sort of closed area, as opposed to when they went national and worldwide with WWE. They were treated as a cartoon character and joke. America's Most Wanted had more success on a national level, and that's why I would go with America's Most Wanted over the Sheep Herders, just for the fact of success on a national level compared to a independent, localized area. So America's Most Wanted is advancing with a 2-1 victory.
That's bullshit.
And that brings us to you, Chris, with
Yay.
Eminem taking on the Midnight Express.
As far as looks, Eminem, but as far as wrestling skills, it'd be the other team. Though it's a lot closer than the Nasty Boys as far as wrestling. I mean, Eminem would have a great chance, and I could give him the pity vote, but I only pulled for Nasty Boys because of the damn Nasty Boys. So Eminem would not win that match. I believe it would be. I'm having trouble seeing my damn paper now. That's why I keep going to the side. Anyways, I say Midnight Express on that one. Plus, you got Cornette.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Midnight Express as well. Just the technical ability and the dastardly underhanded tactics of one James E. Cornette would go over what the parkour style, the high flying, and even the sex appeal of Melina doing her distraction.
You're saying that's not sex appeal right there?
Now, if we were doing basing the marriage on sex appeal, of course, Melina will take that one. But we're talking about Mama's Boy, Jim Cornette. Midnight Express is going to win 3-0 because I know Steven's going Midnight Express.
Yeah, it's 3-0. I love Eminem, but it's the Express. So let's recap round 2. We had Red Dragon beat the American Wolves 2-1. Steiners beat Shotan 3-0. AMW beat Bushwhackers 2-1. And the Midnight Express, which kind of surprised me because I really thought Jones was going to get my goat on that one.
No.
I really thought.
It's not a fact that, like, again, they're a great tag team. I recognize that, but it might be because I was mainly a WWF watcher. I did see the other stuff. I seen some WCW, but I didn't get to watch a lot of it, even in its NWA days. I remember tuning in when Junkyard Dog was on there and that, and I thought they had better wrestling than WWF. I thought a lot of times WCW actually had better wrestling, but WWF always put on the better show. Their show made more sense than the other.
If you watched any Midnight Express versus Rock and Roll, you will be into that because I know you like your old school. So our semifinals are set up Red Dragon versus the Steiners and America's Most Wanted versus the Midnight Express. So round 2, was there any surprises for you, Jonesy?
Not really. I mean, I personally, I think the Sheep Herders could have gone through, but even with them being in a second match, if it was their first match and it was Sheep Herders against America's Most Wanted, I think the Sheep Herders would be able to win that because they're fresh and everything. But after a match, I mean, God, Butch and Luke would be hurting by then, and so it's a disappointment loss for the Bushwhackers because again, I don't think they were great as far as wrestling skills, but as far as entertainment, my God, if you can get any team that's like Bushwhackers, the kids are just gonna love the fact because everyone loved the damn Bushwhackers as far as their dun, 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 dun. I mean, I didn't do it because I was too shy back then, but fantastic.
Sean, was there any surprises in round 2 for you?
Maybe the Show 10 didn't get a single vote, but Steiner's swapped that one. Other than that, wasn't surprised that Midnight Express got 3-0. Tough one. If we saw it live, would be definitely could main event anywhere around the country. But yeah, it's shaking out pretty good.
So
I get to start.
Yes, you do.
With Red Dragon against the Steiner brothers. Red Dragon, multiple-time tag team champions, but not enough tag team titles compared to the Steiners. Red Dragon, I don't think, has really gone too international compared to
Japan. They've won
yeah,
got the IWGP Junior Heavyweight twice.
So they did go overseas to get some recognition, experience, and all that. But I have to go with Steiners over Red Dragon. Just the overall experience of that team compared to Dragon gives Steiners the vote for me. Steven?
I'm going Red Dragon. I have seen a lot of the Steiners, but I've seen probably more of Red Dragon just based on time frame. Don't get me wrong, this would be if Steiners were in their prime and Red Dragon, who are currently in their prime, I think it would be an amazing match because back then the Steiners were much more agile and aggressive than towards the end of their career. It's just a personal preference. The Steiners are the Steiners, and I love them, but I'm going Red Dragon just because I do enjoy Red Dragon. Their finishing move, chasing the dragon, that kick to the head brainbuster is different than anything else you would see right now.
So, Jonesy, you get to be the tiebreaker here.
Yeah, and I was anticipating that, so I'm just scrolling back up to the way up there to find the Red Dragons here, because in my mind, it's the Steiners, but I want to look at these guys' stats again.
I can give them to you if you'd like them.
Oh, they're on my screen.
Okay.
I mean, they're very close teams, and again, I haven't watched a lot of these Red Dragon guys. I'm sure I've seen their matches, but I can't really recall.
Have you watched Undisputed Era? NXT?
Oh, NXT. I've watched a little bit of it, but not.
Because you would see them.
I don't have cable, so I don't watch a lot of. If it's not on Netflix or one of them or on YouTube, I just don't watch it. So I mean, the Steiners. To me, the best tag teams. There's three, and it's Steiners, LOD, and Devon, the Dudley Boys. So for me, the Red Dragons to go through, because I mean, it's gonna be the Steiners against your Midnight Express, and the Midnight Express will win if the Steiners don't go through, in my opinion. So I got to say the Steiners are going through. I'm doing the selfish thing, and the Steiners go through.
America's Most Wanted against the Midnight Express. Steven, will you shock us, or will we see Jim corny again?
Do you really think I'm going to
The Jim Cornette drive-through.
See, I am currently listening to the drive-through right now. He's hilarious. See, my top 3 tag teams would include the Midnight Express, the Brain Busters, probably the Rock and Roll Express. I did watch a lot of WWE as a kid, or WWF at the time. I just prefer that style. I mean, the LOD Road Warriors are great, but they were run through you. Steiners, they were interesting, but they just didn't click. I found them boring. So I'm going Express. Jonesy.
So are we down to the Steiners against the Midnight Express? Is that what we're at?
It's AMW versus the Express. America's Most Wanted.
Oh, America's Most Wanted thing. Okay, for a minute there, I don't know what happened there. So American Express. Well, yeah, I mean,
he just combined 2 tag teams.
America's Most Wanted. I think I said American Express. America's Most Wanted. I mean, they're a good team in that, but yeah, I mean, it's Midnight Express.
Yeah,
so they get my vote.
It's a clean sweep between America's Most Wanted and Midnight Express. James Storm would have been the determining factor in that one, but the Express get to the finals. A clean sweep.
Jones. So Red Dragon lost the Steiners 2-1. Express beat Midnight 3-0. Was there any surprises in the semis, Jonesy?
No. Not for me.
Sean?
No, not really. When you look at the matchups, knew what was going to happen, where it was gearing towards, at least. Which brings us to our finals of this week in the first bracket. And that has the Steiner brothers taking on the Midnight Express, which may or may not have happened in the NWA.
It happened a whole bunch. Express won their first titles, their only NWA tag team titles against the Steiners, because so. Jonesy, you get to start. I get to be the tiebreaker.
All right. I'm just
if we allow that.
Well,
yeah. See, I do have, and see that there you go. You can just help me with this decision. See, again, I want to say Steiners, but I got to bring up the Steiners on here, and then I can ask you. I'm looking at that. So, did Midnight Express get an IWGP tag team? I don't see.
They never left the States. They were.
And see, for me, that's a big problem. I mean, it doesn't mean, and that's the thing. If you go by stats, for me, it would be the Steiners all the way in stats. But they didn't, since Midnight Express didn't have the opportunity or whatever, they didn't get that chance to get those. Because if they did go over, they probably would have at least got it once.
So I can give you some backstory. They were offered to go over to New Japan. They actually had to turn it down because they would have made less money in Japan than what they were making in the States, because they were headlining sometimes the A show or the B show. They were the main event when Flair wasn't.
Well, I'll tell you, if I was booking this, I would have the Midnight Express win, because it would be a shock, I think, to the crowd. And plus, when I look at the stats of the Steiner brothers, who would earn it more than the Midnight Express? I mean, usually when the Midnight Express and Steiners met up, I'd imagine that the Steiners won more than the Midnight Express. So, I mean, that tells me it'd be the Steiners that most bookers would probably put through if this was a real tournament. But you got Jim Cornette. Now, even though Jim Cornette is in AEW jail right now, I mean, and here's my problem. I mean, I know if I say the Midnight Express, Sean's more than likely gonna say the Steiners, but who knows? So you know what? Because I like to take a chance.
He's running around in circles.
If I was hiring someone, all the stuff we talked about doing these tournaments, if I was booking, I'd go with I would say the Midnight Express, because I liked the Steiners. I did, but the Steiners were kind of ruined for me because of the WWF, because that's where I seen them first. Then I went back and seen their other stuff. And they didn't have a manager. So I especially at the end of a tournament, my God, for Jim Cornette to do something dastardly and for them to win. But I'm going to say Midnight Express, they get my vote. Because it is a hard one for me, because I'm not a huge fan of the Steiners. They're great, but they're not that great. You, Sean.
Yeah, well, Steven is going to be the tiebreaker, shockingly, because I know where it's going to go. But just because of resume,
is he getting the big picture of Jim Cornette?
He's getting the "I'm a Jim Cornette guy" T-shirt, I bet. Yeah, but
no. I'm not getting the T-shirt. I'm getting
the picture that's by his bedside every night.
No, this is the Cult of Cornette certificate. I'm a cult member. Okay, go ahead, Sean. You explain your decision.
Just because the Steiners did get to go internationally and stuff like that, and the Midnight Express exchanged a bunch of people here and there. Condrey was in there and stuff like that. Steiners were a stable tag team for the most part and traveled together, brothers, so why not do that? Just they had more success, I feel, in that regards, but I do know that the Midnight Express are going to win the tournament.
What? You already think I already have my vote and my excitement already set up? I'm really surprised. I love the Steiners, but I just never. If this was straight up NWA JCP Steiners, they would definitely have a chance. But I can't hold them not going to Japan against the Midnight, because, like I said, they just couldn't because of the spot. Can you tell what I'm listening to? That's the theme song for the Midnight Express. And they're the winners of Block A, the Midnight
Block A. So there you go. After breaking down the first 16 tag teams of our 64, the Midnight Express have come out on top. They'll meet the winners of the other three brackets. So, for starters, I want to thank you two for being a part of this one. We'll do this again next week.
Do we know who's going to be on next week's? We got teams such as Drastic Powers, Hardy Boys, Fuji Tanaka, British Bulldogs, Samoan SWAT Team, Soul Patrol, Money Inc., Hollywood Blondes, Young and Steamboat, Briscoe Brothers, which are the ROH, Jay and Mark Briscoe, Wild Samoans, Gorillas of Destiny, LAX, which is Santana Ortiz, Roppongi 3K, Dudley's versus an FTR.
So this will be a difficult one next week. You mentioned and specifically said which Briscoe brothers are part of next week's tournament. The other Briscoe brothers are in this tournament later on. Would have been interesting had they draw pick them against each other, Briscoes versus Briscoes, but no such luck. We are going to do that next week. Hopefully we will have our graphics back and doing a little bit better.
Who you picking out of all those? Who would you pick right now to win out of there?
So are we going my favorite tag team, or are we talking
the one that you'd like? The one you'd like to see if you had to pick between, which one would go?
FTR. Because
That's
they
awesome.
remind me.
First round is going to be fun because for me, all these names, it's Dudley Boys all the way. With what they've done and what they've achieved, to me, it's just Dudley Boys, holy crap balls.
Don't get me wrong, the Dudley Boys. I'm talking. If I had to watch a match, I'm watching FTR versus Minnesota.
Yeah.
But I haven't done enough research on next week. But Dudley's FTR.
It's going to be the hard one of the first round.
Honestly, without looking at the brackets, that could be the winner of next Block B, but just based on they're probably the two best tag teams in there. So we'll see. Sometimes the draw is ugly.
So we'll have that for next time. We'll do our research and get this going. Thank you guys for being a part of this. And be sure to check in tomorrow as part of not TNT. It's going to be the Scumbags of Wrestling podcast taking over TNT's Thursday night 8 o'clock slot. We're going to go live. We're going to go video. And after a couple of weeks off of trying to figure things out and also spending time with my wife, and that we're going to get back into the swing of things Thursday nights, 8 o'clock, Scumbags Wrestling podcast. Anything you guys want to plug before we get out of here?
Not that I can think
of. The Wrestling Trivia Game Show Challenge. We've done one show so far. Planning to do probably 3, hopefully get them in either late this week or next week. So I'm going to be looking for people to compete. And hopefully Sean, our reigning champion, will be on the next show. If not, then he can join us another time. So, but I'm sure we can get him on there and see how many weeks he can go. He's going to be a tough one to beat.
Yeah, we did the first one just last week. Last week, and we had Brad and
Trevor?
Oh, Ben.
Ben. I drew a blank on Ben.
That's okay.
But we had Brad and Ben on, along with myself, running the show Jeopardy style. And you learn a lot during this game show, and hopefully people will tune in. We'll get some prizes going and just be a really good half hour, 45 minutes of wrestling trivia, knowledge, and game show fun. So it's the Trivia Challenge hosted by Chris, and contact us to find out how you can be a part of it. So until next time.
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, until next time, have a good one, and we'll end with this. Hey wrestling fans, it's Sean from the Scumbags of Wrestling. Have you checked out our latest t-shirt design? It's inspired by our friends over at London Comic Con. Nigel Lewis of NCL Studios came up with this amazing design of a comic book cover. It features 22 stars of the Ontario independent wrestling scene, including Cody Deaner, Jody Threat, Casey Spinelli, Tyson Dukes, Brent Banks, Tarek, Sebastian Suave, Halal Beefcake, graduates of the Tyson Dukes Wrestle Factory, and many more. You can get your t-shirt for just $30 or buy the poster for $15. Proceeds from this sale are going to go to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto on behalf of Steven's Wrestling Journey. Steven's an 8-year-old fighting Chiari malformation, and they're searching for a cure. You can contact me either through our Facebook page, Scumbags of Wrestling, or email me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com. Get yourself a great t-shirt with an amazing design and help a wonderful cause at the same time. So contact me today and get your shirt or poster.
Sorry, I was going.